What is up, YouTube? I am going to teach you all how to create your own structures. Have you ever wanted to create your own mod for Subnautica? Well, you can now. You can create anything you want with any style you want, and you can place it anywhere on the map. This is an example of something that I have made, but I'm going to show you guys how to use the Epic Structure Loader. So let's get started. Alright, so I'm going to show you all how to install the mod structure helper. And if you already have Subnautica modded, if you already have these files installed, you can go ahead and skip this part of the video. But I'm going to show those of you that want to learn how to create your own structure files and do not know how to mod the game. I'm going to show you start to finish how to get everything installed. So here we are with a fresh install of Subnautica. So we just installed this. The first thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to go to Nexus Mods /Subnautica, and then you can look at this link right here and copy it if you want, mod/1108. We're going to be downloading Bepinex. That's the first thing that you're going to need in order to get mods installed. So we're going to just do this real quick. And then I always go to the slow download. So now the next thing you're going to need is Nautilus, but before we do that, we're going to have to install Bepinex. So let me open up my... Okay. All right. So this is where it downloaded to, and I'm going to take all these files. Go back over here. And I'm going to drag all of this into the Subnautica directory. Now, the first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to go ahead and start Subnautica. We're going to get it running. And what this is going to be doing is it's going to generate the plugins folder that you're going to need to place all of your mods inside of. So we're going to wait for that to boot up. Okay, and then we're just going to exit out. We don't need to do anything right now. So now let's go back to, we're going to need Nautilus. So let's go ahead and download Nautilus real quickly. Slow download. Okay, so we got that downloaded. Let's close this tab. Let's close this tab. Now we've got Epic Structure Loader. Now this is the main base file that you're going to need in order to be able to view structures that you've created. So you're definitely going to need that. So let's go to that. Manual download. Slow download. Okay, we're going to close that. Now this is the mod file that this is the one we're going to be using. This is the mod structure helper. So, and of course, if you go over here, you can see that it requires Epic Structure Loader, Nautilus, and Bepinex, and that's what we already downloaded. So let's go ahead and get that installed. Okay, so if we go to our Subnautica folder, now you're going to notice that when you go to Bepinex, we're going to see a plugins folder. So this is where all of our mods go. So let's go ahead. Now we got our downloads tab. Let's go to, let's open up Nautilus first. Plugins, Nautilus. Okay, Epic Structure Loader. Place that in there. And then Mod Structure Helper. Plugins. Bam, just like that, we are done with getting everything modded. All the mods that we need to install are installed. So let's go ahead and start up Subnautica. All right, so here we are. Now, okay, so if you're looking at any of your old save files, it does say on the Epic Structure Loader web page that it is highly recommended to start a new game when you are creating a new structure file. So I don't want you to be editing your existing save files because you might corrupt something. So literally every time you create a new structure or even go to edit one of your structures, always create a new save file. Don't save it, just create a new file, okay? Because that can cause certain objects in your structure to possibly corrupt. So, and that has happened to me before. I've had some objects start disappearing, and then I realized I wasn't following the instructions. Let me keep her quiet here. She's wanting to talk over me. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to hit F4. Now you're going to see this menu here. You can create a new structure, edit existing structure, save changes. You're going to be hitting save changes quite a bit because you don't want anything to happen, your computer to freeze or crash, power go out. You don't want anything to happen, and you want to make sure you're saving often. You can stop editing your existing structure and move on to the next one. You can view your structure folder, but since we don't have anything saved at the moment, I can't do this. There's a teleport to the center of your structure option, and then a repair current structure. Now, I've never used this. I've been a little bit too scared to try it. I don't know what it does, so I haven't really done that. But anyway, so this is your first structure. You're going to go to create new structure. And I'm not exactly sure why Lee23 set it up this way, but every time that you make a new structure, you're going to go to Epic Structure Loader. Now, you're going to have to literally type this in every time that you create a new structure. It should have already been filled in. I don't know why it was set that way, but okay. So, structure name it whatever you want. My new structure. There we go. I can't type today. All right, so here we go. So now, when you move your mouse around, you're going to notice that your camera is locked. You're going to want to hold down your right mouse button to move around, and it is very, very highly recommended to do this in FreeCam. So make sure that you hit that Shift-Enter button and you type in FreeCam, and then you're going to want to hit maybe number 4 or 5 to kind of move around a little fast. And if you hold down Shift, you can move down even faster. So anyways, so now here we are in the Epic Structure menu. So we're looking around. So let's say that you want to, well, I don't know. What do you want to add to your structure? You can build it literally any way you want. This kind of turns Subnautica into like Minecraft. I mean, you can get so creative and build whatever you want. But what you're going to do is you're going to hit Tab. And you're just going to search. Like, let's search Aurora. Now, we can't build a duplicate of the Aurora, sadly. But you're going to... These are all the prefabs that have the name Aurora in it. So, we've got Aurora wreckage. You know, this is like a frame to a door. So, let's hit that. So, now we got a frame. Okay, now let's... Now, in order to move around, you're going to have to hold down that right button on your mouse. And if you're moving too fast, you might want to hit 2 or 3, and then you can, move around a little bit slower, gain a little bit more control of what you're doing. So, we have so many different options here. There's so many different things we can do. Let's start off with Translate. Now, Translate is basically just moving your object around. You can either grab it here, or you can just kind of, choose the axis. You've got your vertical, your side to side. You can have it anywhere you want. So let's move it down here. Let's build a nice little entrance to something. Okay, well, we had to go down a little bit for. Okay, so let's just say we want our little door to be right here. Now, we can rotate it. This is a rotation for any direction you want. You can have it facing this way, that way. Get creative, do whatever you want. Now, the scale... You can have it as big or as small as you want. But I'm going to give you guys a little bit of warning. Now, as someone who has had a lot of experience with the Epic Structure Loader, the geometry of some objects will be a little bit funky. So I will caution you that if you make something larger than what it's supposed to be, then this can mess up the geometry of the item. So, like... Another term would be the hitbox. Like, your hitbox might be a little off to where you go up against it and your character might stop, like, right here. So, I will just give that a fair warning out to that. Now, for me, it mostly happens with rocks, but it can happen with any object. If you make an object too large, then your structure might not be playable. So, just a fair warning. Just make sure that whenever you do decide to make an object larger, make sure that you do a lot of testing to make sure that it will be, not a funky hitbox. So anyways, let's go to, now we've got an option here, drag and drop. Now, I don't really use this option because we have so many different other ways to move it. You can push it if you want, like, you just want to move it somewhere else. You can kind of grab it and move it around like this. It might be a little bit easier to do that than translate. You know, it might be a little bit easier for you. Depends on how you want to do it. But for me, I usually just use translate. But this does kind of have an option where it kind of like drags upon the ground. So that is pretty handy, I'll admit. Okay, so the next one is paintbrush. Now, it doesn't do what you think it's going to do. It doesn't change colors or anything. But what you're going to do is you can go to Object Picker. And then you can pick an object, like we just picked our door. And then you can go to paintbrush and you can just go bam, 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 bam. So you can like create as many of these objects as you want, and it duplicates them. Now, sadly, it does not duplicate the changes that we made to the size and everything. But so let's say, for example, that I want to redecorate the safe shallows with more acid mushrooms. Well, let's go to acid, and we've got. Let's see, where would that be? Mushroom. Now, you're going to be spending a lot of time actually searching for prefabs because there is all kinds of objects with the names that you wouldn't normally expect. So here we go. Okay, so we duplicated an acid mushroom. So now let's go to Object Picker. We copied it. Now we're going to go to Paintbrush, and then we just do it this way. And whenever you go up to like a, just like a wall, it'll automatically, change the rotation and direction of your object to make it look more natural. So that way we can make as many of these as we want in our area. So, okay, let's go out of that. So now you know what Paintbrush does. Now, global space, that's not really something I've been using, but I'm not 100% sure what this does, but I believe that whenever you have global space activated and you save let's say we save this area, and then we have global space whenever we spawn a certain object in. Well, I think what that does is it basically connects this object to this area, so that way whenever you teleport to this particular structure, it will take you to where where you had the object that was connected to the global space, because you can still place objects all across the map on the same structure file. So you wouldn't be able to teleport, say for example, if you've got flora over here and then you put flora way down in the lava zone and then you say teleport to my structure, well, it's not going to know where to teleport the player. So if you have global space activated when you bring these in, spawn these in, then that would connect this object to this area, if that makes any sense. So I believe that's what that does. I don't use it. I just kind of, go into free cam and I warp my character forward to get to where I need to be. But so moving on, let's go to snapping. Now, snapping is a very advanced feature. It's not something that I really have ever felt the need to use. But so let's say, for example, that you wanted to have like a grid of objects and you wanted them all facing the same direction and all the same amount of meters separated apart. Well, what you could do is you could, say for example, you could change this to 10. And then we're going to spawn one of these in. So now whenever we go to, see, now let's duplicate. Now that's something I haven't shown you just yet. Control D to duplicate it. So we got it duplicated. Now we got the position set on snapping to 10. So whenever we move this, see what I mean? It's like exactly 10 meters apart from the other one. So if I wanted to duplicate it, Control D, and then move that over. Now they're all evenly spaced apart. So again, this is not really a feature that I have really ever felt the need to use, but I could see how this might be useful for a certain pattern that you are building. Like, say, for example, you're building a precursor base. You might need certain objects separated in a certain pattern, and it would be a consistent space for whatever you're building here. So, yeah, that actually can be useful for base building. But, okay, so let's move on. We've already covered that. Now we have something called a cable generator. So, okay, so we have a cable generator. Now this is a little tricky here. Now we have start prefab is square. You can make it a claw. You can make it round, or you can make it square. So let's go ahead and generate a cable here. Now we can take this, we can space it out here. Let's see. Let's go. Oh, yeah, we can rotate that. Now let's go to generate new cable. Oh, no, wait. I did that wrong. Okay, so now it's add control point. Yeah. So then we can have it branching off. Yeah, that gives it the curve that we need. Nice. So this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. I haven't really used this particular feature very much because I haven't really been... I do have plans to build a precursor base, but I have not really gone onto that just yet. But yeah, you can change it, the end of it, and you can have it like square, round, or claw. Now we could remove... Yeah, we removed that, and then that made it straight. So yeah, there's a lot you can do with this. And then, of course, as you saw me do, you can pick an object. Let's go out of that. We can select an object. We can go to duplicate, and then immediately just move it over, and now we've got another one, just like that. And then, of course, if you make a mistake, then you can go to Control Z, and you can undo it. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of warning here. Don't use this feature too fast, because it can't seem to handle the speed of if you make several mistakes and you just start mashing Control Z over and over and over, you're gonna make your your structure loader crash. It's gonna bug out, and so don't do that. So whenever you hit Control Z, do it very, very slowly. So, and then of course there's, the select all feature, which I've never used that. But okay, so we saved our structure, and you just go up here and hit save. Now, let's say, for example, we want to stop editing this structure, and then we want to create a new structure. So again, it's Epic Structure Loader, my new structure 2. And now we've got another one. And so we can go to the menu here, and I'll show you some of what we were talking about earlier. You can view your structure folder. Now, we haven't saved part 2 yet, so let's save the changes. Now let's go back to the folder. Now we've got the other file that just appeared. So keep in mind that if you don't hit that save button, even if you create a new structure file, it's not going to save. So make sure you do not forget to hit the save button. So this brings you to your folder here. And again, I have not tried to use the repair structure folder. I haven't really, I've been a little too scared that might corrupt something that I'm making. So anyways, this is how to install and how to use the Epic Structure Loader. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of structures that I have been working on personally. And if anyone is interested in joining my project, hit me up, comment, join my Discord, let me know. But I'm going to show you Cold Nautica. So yes, this is Cold Nautica. This is a mod that I am working on, and this is, so far, this right here is basically redoing the entire Safe Shallows. I have recolored a lot of stuff, which I will teach you guys how to use the texture replacer editor in a later video, but I have been placing objects in all different kinds of areas, as you can see, and just basically reshaping the entire Safe Shallows. Now, these are icebergs that I did, and I created these with, let's see, let me show you. Let's see, icebergs. Yeah, so I created these with a rock, and this one is cracked rock. So I took this one, and I retextured it to make it look like an iceberg, and then I've taken it, and I've pretty much rescaled it to make it a little bit thinner. And then I've placed it right perfectly on the water to where you can actually swim up on top of it. And the thing is that I was mentioning earlier is there have been a lot of issues with geometry where I will, when playing the game, you will try to walk on top of it, and then your character just suddenly stops. And I've had to find workarounds, to fix that issue. But if you are resizing objects, just keep in mind that your geometry will be a little weird. So yeah, this is Cold Nautica. I can show a little bit of this off here. Yeah, this is an island, small island that I'm working on right here. I basically took these stalactites and I retextured them to look like icicles. And then I've taken some of the other rocks and I've given them slightly different colors to give it more tone for the ice. And you go up underneath here, and I've got large icebergs. I retextured the floaters, and then I've taken aurora wreckage and I've placed it on top of some of the icebergs. And you can, of course, resize the aurora wreckage if you want. Just be careful that sometimes when you spawn this in, there are certain other objects floating around that kind of come along with it. So just keep that in mind. And here is a frozen waterfall that I made. I basically took like a piece of glass from one of the architect's precursor bases and retextured it blue. So you can get creative with this and do so many things with it. And then I take the rocks, make them look like icebergs. I took the plants, make them look like they're more of a cold species, and then I have all the different stalactites and everything coming up going down the waterfall. So there's so many different things you can do. I'm working on my own precursor thing right here. So anyway, you can get creative with this. I do recommend actually separating your objects in all different structure files. So like, say for example, I have a file for stalactites, I have a file for icebergs, I have a file for certain creatures. You want to keep everything separate, because if something does go wrong, you would lose everything. So you want to make sure you keep everything organized and separate, so that way if there is a corruption in your file or anything like that, it only affects one particular area that you can go back and fix. So anyway, guys, this is an example of what you can do with the structure editor and the texture replacer, which again, I will get into that in a later video. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it taught you something, and I hope you guys get out there and get creative with the structure editor. Peace out, guys.